Love doesn't have to be a losing game. Every single day can have a better way. Changes come and go, but that's the way love goes. The way love, the way love, the way love goes. The way love, the way love, the way love goes.
Hi, I'm Mike.
Hi, I'm Steph.
We met in church. So I guess a little bit of backstory. I was doing Bible study at home and was doing it for about a year or so and kind of getting to know God and studying the Word, etc. And, you know, I think it was January 2013 where I said, it's time for me to go to church more on a regular basis, because I would go to one day, maybe a special service, and then wouldn't go for a little while. But I felt this is the right time for me to continue to go. I went on that day. It was a great service. And yeah, at the end of the service, I was met with this wonderful young lady.
We went to churches that actually weren't the original churches that our families went to. So it was kind of mad that if we didn't go to those churches, we might not have met. At this particular time, there was a family member that was sick, so I was taking a sabbatical, and this sister in church kind of came up to me, and she'd already told me about this young man, but she'd said like, oh, you know, we're doing these Bible studies, you know, about marriage and relationships, and he's interested in it, and so kind of off the bat, me and some other ladies, we kind of writ off that, you know what, he's already taken, like for him to be interested in marriage and relationships, he's probably already on his way down the aisle. The church sister came up to me quite quickly and quite flustered, and she's like, he's here, but he's about to go. And the person that was leading out when I was taking my sabbatical wasn't available. And she goes, I need someone to introduce him to people, but I don't know what to do. And I was like, it's fine, I'll go, I'll do it, I'll go introduce it myself. And I said, just put me in the direction of him. And she did, and I just went over and I was like, hi, my name's Stephanie. And he introduced himself back. Yeah. And my first impression is that he was a nice young man. And he kind of made me feel so relaxed. And I say that because I was kind of out of character for like how I was, because I felt so at ease. So I was, after us chatting, talking about the service and stuff like that, I was like, oh, let me introduce you to some other people here. I linked arms with him, a guy I'd never met before. And I took him all the way around church and introduced him to so many people. And I felt so relaxed and so calm and so at ease. And he was just somebody who, from the get-go, just made me feel comfortable about being just myself.
And I think it did the same thing for me as well, because I think I'm, I guess, naturally introverted. So, you know, when after church service, you know, most people know each other, etc. Whereas I was kind of new to the church. So I knew a couple of people, but not that many people. So I would kind of stay around for a couple of minutes and then I'll probably just head home. So for her to do that, you know, it just showed her qualities in terms of just being so welcoming, being, you know, serving, just being able to kind of, you know, just show your good qualities. And that's what was some of my first impressions of Steph.
Last like 3-4 months, we kind of disagreed on when was our first date. So we call it first date, non-date. And basically, how it led up to that is, so we were friends for a very long time, and we were kind of the will they, won't they. People kept seeing stuff in us, but we were kind of like last to like notice it for ourselves. And when we finally kind of got closer, Mike called me and he told me how he felt, and he asked for us to meet up the next day. Yeah. And we met up, and he chose a really lovely restaurant, and it was really lovely because it was something that kind of connected with what I was interested in. It was quirky, it was techie, it was really lovely, and it was just he really put a really good first foot forward. And I think that's why for me I remember thinking to myself, oh, somebody didn't tell me this was a date. But because there was so much for us to make sense of, it really didn't have the full date feeling. And I think it was the next time, and we've now come to agree with this, it was the next date, and I believe it was on the River Thames.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we went to grab a nice bite on the River Thames, and went for a nice long stroll, and it was really beautiful because we ended up sitting on a bench, and there was a tree.
I think it might have been lights as well.
Yeah, it had beautiful blue lights on it, and it was just like, and you had like the moonlight kind of glistening over the water. It was just really picturesque, and it was just really, really lovely.
I proposed. I think it would have been strange if Steph was to propose. I think traditionally the man should propose. So, you know, it came probably about a year after we'd been together where I started to think about, you know, buying a ring. So that's when I started to do my research about rings and whatnot. But I wanted to make sure that it was special, of course. We had, you know, my brother and my sister-in-law had a camera there. It was decorated, it had slur, I think it had petals and all that kind of stuff.
My favourite thing.
And Ferrero Rocher, yeah. So when we kind of came through the door, the camera would be there and she would know what it's about, kind of thing. Came into the room and took off the blindfold. Maybe you want to take it from there?
Yeah, and I was utterly surprised because I think when we were at the gym, the spa, Mike kind of said, because we had something that we were going to go on to do later on, or so I thought. So he said this is a place that we we're going to get ready nice and slow and just kind of take our time and ready for this evening thing. And when he blindfolded me, Mike does lots of nice things, he does. So when he blindfolded me, I thought this is just a nice thing that he was doing again, because he does that. And then, you know, as he said, the door opened, I came in, I just saw the decoration and I was taken back. And I saw my soon-to-be brother-in-law and sister-in-law in the corner with the video camera. And yes, again, I still don't know what was going on. And because I just thought it was just this really lovely gesture he was doing to kind of perk me up for the really rough semester I was having, term I was having. And then Mike kind of held my hand and music was playing and he just said the most wonderful words to me. But he didn't say, will you marry me?
And the reason why I didn't say that is because I had left the ring in the bag. So I was like, hold on 1 minute, and then run over.
At that moment, I was convinced, this is not going to be the moment he proposed, because he didn't say it. And so he turned round, and I was thinking, oh, this is really lovely. I was just enjoying the moment. And he then turned round, and then he had the box. And I literally, God's not witness, I was completely and utterly shocked. And I'm a really hard person to surprise. I overthink things, I figure things out accidentally. And I literally was taken back by it. And it was just amazing.
A bundle of joy, our little son, Mikey, he's always playful. He's just seen him grow and develop to become who he will be in the future, but also just develop and just grow just as a young baby. So whether it's him growing out of his clothes, whether it's him just eating more food, now he's walking as well. He didn't really skip, but he kind of skipped it a little bit in terms of that crawling. He didn't really crawl, he kind of like a bear crawls, around the home, and now he's walking and running about. But yeah, just him giving us a big hug, a kiss. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And just seeing him develop in his character at such a young age as well. These are things to treasure that we've, filmed and take pictures of and shared with family and friends, and yeah.
My little baby actually cracks me up. He's actually funny. He initiates games and I love it. And I just having that connection of someone that we created, that we didn't get to see as much because he was in the womb, and then him come out and then just seeing him grow, I think is amazing. This might sound strong, but in-laws should not have a say in the marriage and immediate. They can have opinions, but they shouldn't have a say.
They say when two people come together and get married that, you're now kind of one with that person. So even though, there are opinions, etc., we have to do what's right for us. So in-law should not be too concerned. It allows for you to connect, to become close. I think it's especially important for us because our love language is touch as well. So that's something that we are intentional about as well.
We have to be intentional about because having a baby takes up so much time. So you kind of have to make sure that you don't lose yourselves in our new roles of being parents. Because night and day, 24/7, you know, so you have to make sure. I never saw myself as really attractive or pretty or anything like that. And I kind of think I carried some of that still into my adult life. And I think early on in our relationship, I think I felt or was concerned that he didn't feel that way about me before we got together. And I think that kind of knocked me a bit, kind of thinking about that while we were together. And I think what was hard for me or what was hurtful was that it took him a while to kind of understand that perspective and to understand how that was something that was quite difficult. But the moment that he did get it, I think he was really, his apologeticness, that's not even a word, his sincereness about how sorry he was, like, meant the world to me.
So if she was to say something in particular and I've kind of agreed and I felt like I've understood it, but then it's repeated. So sometimes that can raise some tensions as well. Yeah. For me, I love how flirtatious she is. How flirtatious she is and can be inside the house, outside the house, and just being playful as well. Yeah, that's something I really enjoy.
I enjoy your physique. I came from a home, as people call it, as a broken home. I would just say that my parents split when I was 3. That was the norm. And in my family, I constantly was seeing people split up. So I think in terms of, and the people around me, I think I'll say I'd see people split up. I think it wasn't until I got to the church did I start to see examples of black love. My
parents have been married for a long time and they're still married. So there was a real good example for like being committed, going through, I guess, difficult and hard times, and you go through the good times as well. So that kind of brought stability in terms of, you know, marriage is something that I wanted because of the example. But other than that, my brother, my sister-in-law as well, they've been married and committed together for a while as well. Again, with the church, with the church, there was also a few couples as well that stand out to me, where you can go to them for advice to speak to about not only anything, but also specifically about relationships and advice while we were together as well. Yeah.
You know, some of the things that we learn, sometimes we don't learn it from our home. Sometimes we learn it through the storylines that are going on in mainstream media. So if it's not there and it's not represented in a happy, healthy way or a useful, healthy way, then actually it's really problematic. And that's why, and it's also really needed. Black love means total acceptance, to stand in our truth, our entirety, our culture.
It represents, you know, two people coming together and being able to show others it's possible, that you can have a successful relationship, successful marriage, and it's something to be celebrated. I think there's a lot of stigma around not wanting to be with someone from a particular culture for X, Y, and Z reasons. And I think to be able to demonstrate a way of coming together a way of celebrating each other is black love to me. I would say commitment. Throughout this journey in our relationship, or anyone's relationship and marriage, etc., know that there's going to be changes. We're going to grow as people. So know that you're going to be committed to the person who they're going to also become also in the future. So I really think that's really important. Yeah.
To add to that, I would say understanding, and then kind of developing an understanding or a desire to want to understand where your partner's coming from. I think it's so easy to either bring our stuff to the table or for us to have our lens of how we're going to interpret what somebody else is doing. And I think it's really important to really come with a heart of, I want to understand the person you are today, what your experiences and your upbringing have contributed to who you are. And I want to understand what this particular thing means to you, or understand what all of this put together kind of has brought to this moment. So I think going with a sense of, or a desire to seek to understand, is a really good, helpful perspective in marriage and long-term relationships.
Love doesn't have to be a losing game. Every single day can have a better way. Changes come and go, but that's the